Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the final Pat Ryan show. We're here with former Metamora head football coach Pat Ryan. Coach, 30 years, they went by pretty quick, didn't they?
Yeah, it was very enjoyable. Memories, countless memories. But yeah, looking back on it from the time that we started till the time we finished up, in my time, you're exactly right. 3 decades rolls right along.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. You were probably right on the verge of doing some grandkids.
Yeah,
coaching some grandkids.
Yeah, several second generation guys, and that was always fun. A couple of them I'd never met, but I knew who they were by the way they walked, because they walked just like their fathers. But no third generation, and I got to believe that's a good thing for all parties involved.
You know, Coach, we're on Malone Field here, and this has been, you know, we kind of refer to it as the Sacred Acre. And you know, you look behind you and you see some state championship banners up on the press box. I think all but 3 of them were because of you. And
well, I got to be a small part of them, but yes, I was involved in several for sure. But had a lot to do with the guys that were putting the uniforms on too.
A lot of those guys will say it was because of their head coach.
That's nice.
I think all of them have said that. And we'll take a look at some of the things. When we edit this video, some of those players will have a little bit of a say in some of that stuff. And but when you look on this field, and you can probably go to just about every inch of this field and say, I remember a play that happened here. I remember a big play that happened on that end, and then on that end down there. I remember a big play, I think you'll remember it too, in '96 when Jared Grebner broke a big run right over there.
Yep.
And went down that sideline and scored a touchdown. And
absolutely.
It was the game-winning touchdown. It happened, I believe, in the latter part of the 3rd quarter. But that was a big play. I believe part of that run ended up on the phone book.
Yeah, his picture with the big chunk of mud on his. But no, that was a great run that day, and it came couldn't have come at a better time, you know, because it was just that particular day with Normal Community, that was a 15-rounder. It was a slugfest.
That was a big slugfest.
It was an exciting win for us to know that we had been close the year before to get to our first crack at a state title, and very meaningful.
Yeah, that team later would go on the next week. We got a 2nd place. You know, it always hurts to go down to the state championship game and lose. But when you look back on it, it's the journey to get there that I've always said, man, you need to enjoy that a lot more than what you really do.
Yeah, you know, we have had several conversations, but just in talking with guys that have been in the coaching business and been fortunate enough to be there, whether they won it or not. Jim Unruh, who was at Carthage, who won several and had a great career down there, he said, you know, once you get down there, you've taken it as far as it'll go. You don't feel cheated. You're not watching anybody else play football. You're there the final weekend. And the journey, yeah, exactly. You always want to win. If not, you shouldn't go. But the families and their journeys and the excitement building in the community and those kind of things have provided a tremendous amount of memories for me and my family, as well as, you know, a lot of families and people in our community. Makes it special.
When you look at Malone Field, and it's quiet now, and that's, you know, we can't do anything about that, but there have been Saturdays and some Fridays where this is just about as loud as it gets in Woodford County.
Yeah, we for sure there's nothing like that roar from the crowd behind you, and it's been here, but we've also had that on the road as well. But yes. Yeah, there's no place like Malone for sure.
When we built the new bleachers and we had started doing the MTCO, and well, even before MTCO, we started doing the games, and we were on the other side, and we had the bleachers were much smaller before, but I always said it looked like a wall of people. I've never been on that side during a game when those bleachers were full. It had to look like a tidal wave of people.
Yeah, and usually quite a bit of red too.
Yeah, a lot of red. Yeah,
but without a doubt, and I share something. I was walking through. I was last Friday. It was beautiful out, and should have been a great night to have played. And I ran into a friend of mine, Betty Beckemeyer. Her and her husband Fred have been just devout Metamora football fans, and I walked by and she said, boy, I just texted somebody and said what a great night it would be for a football game at Metamora High School, and I thought, yeah, you know, but that's that sense of community, and we always felt like we had supported the community and it meant something to them, and that happened long before I started here, but it was something I greatly appreciated. And I think as kids play here and go on and they see maybe how it is in other places, they appreciate it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I agree with you. You know, there's a lot of communities that have a lot of support for their teams, but to have it be as strong as it is in Metamora for as long as it's been in Metamora, there's probably only maybe 4 or 5 towns in this entire state that can say that.
I agree with that, and it makes it a privilege, and you know, it makes it something that the standard, the bar was high, you know, and you know, we didn't always get as far or win as many as we thought, but the expectations were always going to be there, and we understood that, and you either have those high expectations and have that sense that it's important, or nobody says anything no matter what happens, and they don't care. I think we all agree we'll take the pressure. We'll take the pressure, and you know, you take the bitter with the sweet. But we have a lot of things to be thankful for.
When you got to Metamora, the tradition had been there for a long time, but you kind of had to instill that we could play against the big boys into the Metamora football community, the players, the fans, and everything. What was the game that kind of solidified that made you say, okay, yeah, maybe we lost, but now we can play with the big boys? Well,
you know, there's a couple moments that kind of built up to answering your question. In '90, that first year, we lost a game here to Peoria High, who had a pretty good team at that point, and Coach Lay was there. You know, just a fantastic man, Hall of Fame guy, and we lost a real tight ball game. I think you know, my youth went for it 4th and short on about, I don't know, right over there about the 32, and we were about 2 inches short. But anyway, we lost that game. Next week we went to Limestone, and Limestone had a whale of a team that year. They had just whooped up on Bloomington, and they were ranked, if I'm not mistaken, Scott, they were ranked 5th in the state at that time. And we got after them. We were ahead 21-0 and ended up holding on to win that game 28-21. Jason Zobers had a fantastic game that particular
one of the
night.
Biggest collisions I'd seen
Him
against
Tarantula. Yeah, that's right. There's still an echo over there.
Yeah.
But anyway, that game, I think, you know, especially on the heels of a tough loss, was meaningful. '92 was the first time we beat Washington in a long time, and it was here. And Dowling and Aberly, quarterback, and Aberly the fullback. And I can still remember just that last, you know, with last time out they had, and you're realizing, hey, we're going to get these guys. And that group really got the most out of what they had. You know, they're not recognized as a team that went deep in the playoffs or anything like that. It was a little harder to get back in at that time to get into the tournament, and we didn't get in that year because of playoff points. But that was memorable. But I think the real turning point, Scott, had to be the '94 playoff game at Washington. That was a big win. It was the first playoff win that we had in a number of years, actually since we had lost to Morris here, if I'm in my senior year, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Win. Okay, we had been in the playoffs, but and that was a really big win. And what's really odd about that win in '94 is it came on the heels of just a disaster down in Chatham the week before. Yes. We played so poorly down there. Mm-hmm. We were all so disappointed, and it was like when we found out that we were playing Washington in the playoffs, it's like there's nothing that could make that loss disappear any faster, because suddenly we didn't have any time to like, oh my goodness, it's like, hey, we're getting ready to play Washington again, and we had lost to them in a tight one at their place before. So when we won that ball game, it was just a tremendous excitement in the community. One, it was a playoff victory. Two, it was over Washington, and there were
3. It ended their season.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next week, Belvedere, a defending state champion, comes in. Great program.
The defending state champion.
Yeah. In the class above, they were actually in the bigger class before.
They were in 5A the year before.
That's right.
And they were ranked number 1 in 5A, and they dropped down to 4A.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was the game that turned things around.
Yeah, and I was going to say that, and Vern Pottinger at that time, Belvedere was really in the heyday of some great teams, and we caught them a little off guard. I think when they came down
13-8.
here, I think I don't know if they saw the Metamora sign. I think they thought they were in Mayberry, but it didn't matter to us.
Yeah.
We had an opportunity right down there in that end zone, an interception, to win that ball game.
Win the ball game.
But right, what it said at that point was, okay, we could play.
We can play with the big boys.
Yeah, that's we knew,
because there was nobody better than Belvedere that year in 4A, and maybe even in 5A.
Yeah, they were a high quality team,
and that was the closest they had come to losing in, I think, 2 years.
Yeah. So yeah, it was disappointing, but it's funny how sometimes those losses can do it for you, but it gave us a lot of momentum going into '95, and we knew we had a good group coming back. That senior class. '95 was a really good. The Andy Reed, the captain, one of the last true fullback middle linebackers, and Andy was a big story for us because when Andy was in 8th grade, I watched him play basketball. Everybody knew he was like a bull in a china closet. Real physical kid, and his dad had a big impact on my life. Paul, he was my basketball coach and teacher in junior high. So the story is, though, we really felt like you got to get the Andy Reeves of the world to play, because if those guys are walking the halls and not playing football on Friday night, you're probably never going to quite get to where you want to get to. And so, Andy was we were so glad he gave it a try. He wasn't sure, but I tell you what, I think he fell in love with football. Now I know he was a baseball guy first, but I think football. Well, he'd tell you football wasn't too far behind.
No, it crept up a little higher every year.
Yeah, and he was outstanding.
Yes.
We just had, and those two groups, those two classes together, were just outstanding. We got a great year out of Joe Kenyon at quarterback. And we had guys on, a lot of coaches on that. You had Grebner, you had Delinsky was a senior, real good leader on that team, and probably influential in getting Andy out for football. I probably just nagged him so much, he said, okay, I'll give it a try. But anyway, that group, and a lot of those guys are coaches that I mentioned. They got along well together, and we gained a lot of momentum. '95 was a fantastic year. We still had to beat Washington twice in 2 close games. IVC had a great team that year. We had to have an interception to win that. And
didn't they try to sneak a guy onto the field, and he didn't make it past the hash mark, and he actually scored a touchdown, and they brought it back after the play?
Oh yeah, there was something. Now that one you're taking me a spot I'm not going to be 100% accurate on, but I'm sure you're right. But in '95, the Sterling game, it was 35 below zero. We had the community out here blowing snow off the sideline markers just so we could play, and it was like stone soup. We started off with one little snow blower, and as the community was actually a lot like, it reminded me of the day that we put the turf down on this field in '79.
Yep.
Yeah, and so the fall of '79 was the first game here, but that day we laid sod was just fantastic. As a kid, getting to lay down your own football field, and the whole community was out, and I think they finished that job about 4 hours ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
But
I was a freshman, and that's how we did that whole week. We, instead of getting ready to play a football game, we had to come out here and rake, and we helped lay sod. And I think there was maybe 5 or 10 people here helping, and before we got maybe even a quarter of it done, there were 100 people, it seemed like.
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So then move it up to '95. The same kind of thing, getting the field ready. It was just one of those days that was just absolutely. It was the coldest day. I don't think my core body temperature ever got back to normal. But it was one of those days you score first, and things that had to happen, like Spud eating the punt out of the end zone
down there
that flipped the field, and it was all about field position.
Was that
day.
About an 85-yard punt?
I bet it was to him. It was to us.
It hit that ice and just skidded right down out of bounds at about the 10 or 11-yard line.
Yeah, but guys like Burke and Jake Burke and Yeager and those guys.
James Stewart
and Jeff Stewart.
Jeff Stewart.
Yeah, Jeff
lineman.
Stewart. Yep, absolutely, Big Stu. And just so many guys, and you start mentioning names. You always know you're not going to get everybody named, but that group knows exactly who they were. But then we get a couple of hit. But one thing those guys wouldn't wear sleeves. They would not wear sleeves, and we demanded in that they wear sleeves that
I
day.
mean, our players.
Yeah, and Sterling came out and didn't have sleeves on, and you could just see their arms were red as my shirt by
Yeah.
halftime. Now, second half they came out
Sure.
with sleeves on. So yeah, and then '95 obviously went down to, we went from it being 30 below zero to a beautiful day.
It was a
down
sunshiny
at
day.
Sacred
Still
Heart.
cold. Well, yeah, the
And-
next week. The thing about that season, though, the year before when you lost to Belvedere here, I think you told me a great story after the game about Eric Schultz.
Yeah, that when Eric was done, it was actually Kurt.
Kurt Schultz.
Yeah, because I messed that up the last time. It was Kurt, Eric's younger brother. We had lost, and it was the last game of the season, playoff game, and he was in the locker room, and everybody cleared out. There's one guy in the locker room, and it was him, and he still had his helmet on. Hadn't even taken his helmet off.
Helmet and uniform.
And
wasn't it?
just sobbing. I've seen Kurt a couple of times since then. He's doing really, really well. No surprise. But he said, I'm sorry. And I said, you don't have to be sorry. And he said, I'm sorry. He said, I can't take it off. And I thought, are you okay? I thought maybe injured. He wasn't injured. He said, Coach, he said, here's the problem. He said, once I take this gear off, I never get to put it on again. He goes, I just can't get myself to do it. And I told guys that story because that's how, you put it all out there. And you always hope that when that last time, and they got to take that Metamora football uniform off, that it's hard to do, regardless
Means
of.
something.
Yeah, absolutely. And now in these current times, we'd just be tickled to death to get it back on them. It's just funny how we're in a different time right now. But we use that a lot. And it was sincerely. I mean, I waited. I sat in a locker room a long time, and we talked. And a few tears later, we got the uniform off. But it was very meaningful.
That means something. That's a huge. Actually, it's a great story, and you always wonder sometimes how much it really means to some kids, and when that kind of stuff happens, you know that it does mean a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and it is what it is. It's high school football. They're going to go on, and we've also said this will not be the most important thing in your life. You're going to go on. You're going to be continue to be a family member, a father someday, a husband someday, a member of your community. You hope they could take a little piece of this and be better for it. And understand the sacrifice and what it means to do something within a large group for a common goal. And no success rate. We're not 100% with that endeavor, but that was always a part of it. If you take that element away from high school football, then the educational process is lost. And that's what makes it valuable. And people think it's all about the contact and the aggressiveness and all that. Yeah, that's part of it. Football is a contact sport. There's no doubt about it. But it's that bonding and that it's just uncomfortable to put you put a football uniform on sometimes in practice. It's not a whole lot of fun to wear it.
No.
But boy, on game night when those lights come on, I can remember even, and I don't know what your experience. It took me to that first ball game to really appreciate going through those two-a-days. It's like, is this really? Because we didn't have JFL.
It used to be 3 days when we were there.
Yeah, and it seemed like the days never ended.
Ooh.
But the bottom line is, once you got out there and you did that the first time with all your crew, you figured it out. And if you didn't figure it out at that point, it probably was something that maybe wasn't. And it's not for everybody. We understand
No.
that.
No. And there's a bunch of different people that want to thank you. And we talk about start off with the guys up at MTCO and Mark and I and guys like Bob Beecraft and Kip Dubois who have been kind of behind this whole thing. And the one thing they always said was how much they appreciated the fact that win, lose, or draw, and no matter how hard some of those losses were, and even some of the wins that were so exciting, you wanted to stay with the team, but you still found time to come up and interview with us after those games. Man, we really appreciated it.
Well, we appreciated it. It brought a whole nother level to our program. And I know I mentioned it. My dad, couldn't come to the games towards the end. His health wasn't good enough. But to have access to those games through MTCO was very meaningful because we could still talk about them. And he could still offer his opinion. Both my parents did, actually. And it wasn't always what I wanted to hear either. So yeah, I mean, we look back at just that whole run of things, in '96, and then we went back and got the rematch with Providence in '97, and we felt like both times we competed, and they were nationally ranked at that particular time. They really were rolling, and we had opportunities to win. We didn't. In '96, the pouring down rain, We didn't have a great start. We were down early, ended up battling back, taking the lead on a long pass, actually, which people was
Samaj Allen.
yeah, and it was a great catch. But those kids were so competitive. They relished. I think what drove them was they had an expectation in '97 that they were going to go back and they're going to play the same team again and take another shot at it. And just to have that mentality, '99. We kind of snuck in there. We went down and beat a normal team that was really highly touted. There were a lot of folks that didn't give us a chance. We'd struggled a little bit defensively, offensively, and then Joe Stam got hurt the last regular season game.
Richwoods.
And so, we were a little bit iffy. Pulled it together and made a good run and went down there. And, of course, Joliet Catholic kind of took us to the woodshed that day. But again, it was a great motivator for 2000. We got the rematch, and boy, oh boy, we were probably one or two plays away from winning that ball game. Now, we didn't, and when you're playing great teams, that's the way it is. So, those were two separate runs with separate kids. And I think the impact of that first run had a second, much like. We got a little separated, but we always tried to bring the 75 team back as much as we could to talk to our players, and put some names with some faces. They got it done the first time, and I would argue that that was as difficult of a win when they went down and won East St. Louis. I would argue that the most talented team we might have ever played on this field was Cahokia.
Oh,
they were talented. Armstead's still playing.
Yeah,
he's been in the NFL a long time. They had 3 or 4 guys that were Division I guys, a Mizzou guy, and Armstead, that lineman, maybe as good a football player as ever played on our field.
Right.
So, but and you keep going, and the 07. We knew in 06 that we had a good team, and again we lost the Sacred Heart. Charlie Zimmerman Jr. appreciated the fact that here we had Caleb Turbush, who ended up playing at Purdue, didn't get a start till he was a senior.
At quarterback.
Yeah,
at
wide
quarterback.
Receiver. Yeah. But just the willingness to accept what was best for the team. Charlie had come back as an all-area player, and Charlie was more than willing to, but that's water under the bridge. But what I appreciated about that is Caleb and his family. But boy, when he got his turn, he made the very most of it with those guys. And the 07, it's hard to compare teams. The 07 had a lot of firepower, there's no doubt. And we felt like with that team, that 07 team, if the core of our guys could stay healthy, we'd make a run at it. And that's exactly how it went down. And the kick has been talked about forever and ever, but here we got this freshman kid that they keep telling me, Mike Warner's saying, this kid coming up, he can really kick. And, you keep watching. We finally said, doggone it, we're running out of reasons not to bring him up. I remember calling and asked his mom and dad for permission. Is it all right if this guy kicks for us varsity? He's just a freshman, but would that be okay?
130 pounds?
Yeah, 130 pounds, yeah.
With equipment on.
Yeah, exactly, in a full stomach. But, just the way that all went down, and to be able to reflect on that and go back and watch TV versions of those games that you never get to see it. You're on the sideline. And in 08, that was one that we felt like maybe got away from us, that we could have had a 3-year string there. But again, I can remember Charlie Heinzman, one of the captains of the 08 team, just, upset, like he had let the whole town and the whole school down because we won a state title and we got second another year. Doggone it, he felt like that was a blemish on his record. And he had an outstanding career,
Yeah.
And then to come back in 09 with we had lost. Breeze Mater Day was a longer drive than we'd ever imagined. It didn't look that long.
We were almost to Florida.
Yeah, it was. It didn't look that long on paper, but boy, by the time we got there, pulled that game out on a good interception. David Kinney, for a 2-week span, was our bailout guy. He had the catch down here, made some plays.
Against Chester.
Yeah, and so anyway.
Now you realize that from 06 to 10. That's the best stretch of Metamora football in their history.
It was a good run, and we had a tremendous amount of players, the good quality players, but unnamed kids that maybe were not going to go on and play college ball that made contributions, and it just worked. We we were in a little bit of a, I don't want to say comfort zone, because we were working extremely hard. It's just, I don't know, when you're in the moment, Scott, you appreciate it, like you do when you get a few years back. And I told you someday we're going to be able to reflect on all this.
Yes.
And that time is now, and it is so fun to go back and look at all the teams, right down to the last game there at Canton that we were a part of. Maybe the strangest ball game I've ever coached.
The playoff game in 2000. What year was that? Is that the one you're talking about?
I'm talking about the last game we coached in
year.
this past fall.
Oh yeah, that was
a strange game.
They had 3 kids ejected, but that stretch there where you went from 06 to 10, you realize you made the semifinals 5 straight years.
Yeah. And I had laughed when we were watching. I went over to watch Dunlap, and it was the year Dunlap and Washington ended up playing in the semifinals. Mm-hmm. And Herbie Knobloch over at Washington, he's pretty excited. He says, "Have you guys ever hosted a semifinal game?" I said, "Yeah, we've hosted a couple." He just was so excited. It's like, he didn't know, we're gonna have this big crowd. What are we gonna do? I said, "Well, we've hosted a couple."
What, about 5 or 6 of them?
Yes. But it was just funny. And of course, I wasn't. He's a great guy. And just funny how things come along. But all the way through. And I want to say, you can't do it without players, and you can't do it without fellow coaches. Scott, the true blessing, the coaching staffs that I've had to work with have been outstanding. I mean, a lot of them are still coaching. Just their commitment to the community, to the school, to the players, to just Metamora football, the program itself. That kind of commitment is, I'll just tell you, there's a lot of guys smarter than me, better football coaches than I am, that never had the staffs to work with that I did. And that was all the way through, right down to my brother, cutting the last piece of grass to make sure, we had that playoff game where those guys came down. And the head official said to me right off the bat, he goes, "Is that grass or is that turf?" I said, "That's the real thing." He goes, "Boy, I can't believe that." And so I'll give my props to Kurt. He made, and there were some weeks where we'd tear it up, and I'd say, "Man, are you going to be able?" And by the next week, he'd have it ready to go. So just all that, Mom selling. In 07, when we won the state championship, we had a sale of clothing. And Mom had ordered like 6 or 7 boxes of clothing, okay? Mr. Mauer was concerned. He's like, "Are you sure? You think you're going to be able to sell all this?" I think about 34 boxes later, she got her all sold. And
wow.
So, it was incredible. They had this state championship apparel lined up
along the fence over there.
Yeah, and it was just absolutely incredible. So I appreciated it. And my mom did that. Of course, she had help. People like Roger Ollig that was helped in those early years. And so, you're mentioning people knowing that you'll never mention them all. But, for a high school football coach, coaching his own hometown, I couldn't have asked for a better situation. I got to coach the way we felt we should. We had support, we had backing, we had you guys enhancing some things. It was just a lot of fun.
The other thing is you had some former players that never forgot about coming back to Metamora and what it meant when they played. And there's a number. You probably can't name them all. Probably shouldn't name them all because you'll forget some. But when you talk to guys 10, 12, 15 years after they've played and they still talk about it, and you see it's not like they're talking about playing Little League. It's from the heart.
Well, and that's what made it go. I mean, I know how I felt. When you brought Mike Reddington and Russell Klein back that night, let's face it, those guys were 2 all-state caliber guys playing side by side, and I got to run behind them. I mean, I couldn't screw that up. And I think you do, and I think you do this, Scott. I think you would say the same for your teammates. You really do appreciate him more. Warren Dubois, teammate of mine, sent me, he was going through his archives and he found our schedule. Senior year had all the scores in it. And we were talking about, boy, most of the scores were lopsided, and we lost to Morris, who ended up winning the state. Both our junior and senior year, we got knocked out by the eventual state champion. the Mascuda the year
Oh, yeah.
before. But we won. We went up to Moments and won 6 to nothing.
Yes.
And the key play of the game was Roger Haywood blocked a punt, and everybody remembered it too.
Yep.
You know, everybody could tell you. You know, the year before, Doug Rickard, we beat Wheaton Central, which later became Wheaton Warrenville South. We beat them 3-2.
3-2.
And
we scored all the points.
Doug Rickard kicked the winning field goal. So, but
and Russ Klein got the safety to make it too.
That's right. So the point is, it's those guys do have those memories that they can share for a lifetime. And I can remember when we had the state championship teams, guys talk to our players in '95, 20 years down the road. And John Vogelsang said something that's really true. He said, you know, when you're out there playing, you're not only playing for the now, but you're playing for your memories. Mm-hmm. You're playing for those opportunities to talk to one another. And I hope whether it was 14-0 or 3-6 or whatever, they still had a special bond together coming out here and putting those birds on their helmet.
Yeah, and I think every kid that's put on those Redbirds on their helmet, I think they do. I'm pretty sure of that. The other one you want to touch on is your family. Man, you had some tremendous support from your family in these 30 years that you coached.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we already mentioned, you know, Mom selling things and helping cook things. You know, they didn't have the boosters. They started cooking stuff before all that went down. Dad helping upstairs, running the clock, and he never did say he was always honest up there. We never got any breaks up there on the clock.
No.
But you know, working with him and you know, obviously Kurt, but particularly I think probably the unsung hero of it all was my wife Nancy. 4 kids, worked as an educator the whole time. We didn't quite, you know, we got married in July. My first season as head coach started in August. So it was, you know, every Friday night of our married life in the fall had always been about Metamora football, and she was very supportive. I mean, I don't think initially we quite understood, you know, how it was going to be like, and then the process, and then Sam getting to play, all the 3 girls being involved with the stats, you know, and Morgan's senior year was the year we beat Rochester, and you know, you could hear her in your video because she's up there keeping stats up there. But yeah, Nancy made a lot of sacrifices so that I could do my thing here, and you know, I got to spend I won't probably make it 30 years, but I got to spend the rest of my time trying to make up those Friday nights to her.
Yeah, 30 years worth of Friday and Saturdays.
Yeah, absolutely, and Sundays and Monday through just the seasons in general. But yeah, it was wonderful to have my family involved and supportive like that for sure.
And to know that you know, when people now come out here and they'll say that no matter how well Jared Grebner's does, and I think he'll do fine.
Really well. They'll do really well.
Everybody says, but Pat won't be there, and you know, you don't dismiss that. You don't say, you know, the best advice people are giving Jared is you don't need to be like Pat, or you have to be yourself. And you know, you weren't like Coach Helmick. You did your own thing. You copied some things,
absolutely,
but you did them in your own way.
Yeah, and Jared's a smart guy, and he's surrounded by smart guys, and they're going to do fine. I'm extremely proud of what he's done. I mean, I hadn't had. He's already done some coaching in some circumstances to keep Metamora football where it needs to be without getting out here. I mean, what a tremendous challenge that is, and they've done fantastic. Yeah, I'm really, you know, those it was big before I ever got here, and I want to mention, you know, we talked about family. My brother was a captain here, 74. They were 7-1-1. He was on the 73 team that was undefeated, but didn't get. That was before the playoffs. A lot of people think that 73 team would have been a hard out in the playoffs back in the day. But Mike was an outstanding football player, arguably the best of the 4. Him and Dad used to talk about the games all the time. It just really got me excited about it. So I probably owe him a debt of gratitude for just the whole interest, you know, in football, and the idea of how big it was here, you know.
And your brother Joe coached with you for a little while.
Absolutely.
And now he's made his own mark up at Sycamore and has done a great job up there. And you know, there was always that chance a few years ago where he might have come back to the area and coach a rival. I always wondered how that would have worked out.
He's done really well in Sycamore, and we're glad that's where he stayed. But he did well, and the thing is, Joe did well at Eureka, did well at Princeton. They had a tough stretch up there, and they had a really tough go, and he took them to the semifinals, and he's had some really good teams at Sycamore, and I'm really proud of him. There's no doubt about it. The fact that he wanted to go into coaching. So yeah, I mean, we just been really, really fortunate, and we need to thank the good Lord above for all the memories and what it's provided for our family. I mean, to coach your own son is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I always hope that when it was done that Sam would miss it. He misses it dearly. We still talk about games, and unfortunately, that loss here was one of probably the toughest that we had. But again, that group was the difference between that group is I didn't normally see groups until they got here. That particular group, I watched them from 5th grade on.
Yeah.
So they were particularly close to my heart. So when that one was done, that one took the wind out of the sails a little bit. But they have their memories and have gone on and done well for themselves, and that's what it's about.
I heard somebody, this is a long time ago, at Corey's after game when they were replaying a playoff game, someone said, you just can't find better entertainment for $5.
I'd like to think so. I think we've had some pretty entertaining nights out here at Malone Field, and just countless memories, and you just that thing you get in your stomach every Friday you walk out here, and there's just nothing like getting out here and looking back and seeing the crowd, and that never wavered. I mean, that part never died. That part I'll miss the most.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you're going to miss. That's part of the deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes, it's nice that you've been able to kind of go out on your terms.
Yeah, and it's after a while you start to feel a little bit selfish. It's such a good thing to have the opportunity to be the head football coach in this town is a wonderful thing. To hold on to it for 30 years was probably, it was long enough, but man, yeah, there'll always be a little piece of me that say, boy, just to get back out there one more Friday night. But I'm comfortable. I haven't regretted that decision. I mean, I'm enjoying the next chapter, it was the right time for me to go, and I just look forward to seeing what these guys do, because if they can get out on the field, you're going to see a good product. I think there's good kids in the program, like there's always been. There's kids that really want to play, and I hope for them that they get an opportunity to put the uniforms on and get out here and play football.
And I hope so too. And it would probably be in the spring, hopefully, but at least they'll get to play.
Yeah, that would be our hope for sure.
And for me personally, Coach, man, it's been, I think we've been doing this 12 years, longer than that. We've been doing this 15 years. So we've done the football games where you've come up after the games. We did the Pat Ryan show for all those years, and that's been a blast.
It was fun.
And we did those classic games that were a blast.
Those were. I enjoyed them.
And I just really appreciate all the honesty, sometimes painfully honest, but it's always been fun. I've always appreciated the fact that you've always been there, and it's I'm really, really going to miss that. Hopefully you'll be able to. I know this first year is going to be a little bit tough for you to probably come back and watch. And
yeah,
you may want to watch the games on TV. I don't know, because if you come back, then people always want to second guess by asking you, well, should we have done this or we have done that?
Yeah.
So you're going to have to probably come back a little bit, maybe like Bobby Valentine did with the Mets, where you have to have a.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Yeah, that's at least. But yeah, and you were talking about, and I wanted to mention Fred Bird. Those years where Fred Trepper dressed up, and that was just a scene that nobody else had. And then,
took
of course,
the motorcycle and the costume down to normal.
Yep.
Would have paid money to see that coming from the opposite direction.
When he passed the school bus, I'll never forget it. Our guys just went wild, and he stayed in the left lane, didn't get back over to the right, and a state trooper followed right behind him. And I thought, this, and I mentioned before, but I said, this ain't gonna go well. There's one particular night up there in the old shed, though, that I want to share with you. A lot of people probably don't know. Jake Roman had the second most rushing yards behind Larry Summers' 75 performance against Alton Marquette out here. He ran for about 350.
Against Chatham Glenwood in the rain.
He was really disappointed in his performance as a scout team back that week in practice. In fact, he apologized to me, and I said, "Well, you know, Jake, you'll just have to make up for it during the game." I don't know what, and he did. But remember, we had the delay.
Yes.
And
the lightning delay.
Dan Rourke would swear that it didn't matter when they came up here, how they got here, it always rained here.
It did.
Yeah. And so whenever Chatham came up, but we had the lightning delay, and so we're up to shit, trying to figure out what we're going to do. So the official's there, and I'm joking because we had a good relationship, and I said to him, "Well, Danny," I said, "it doesn't look too good on the radar. Why don't you guys pack in and just go on home to Chatham and come back, and we'll start about 9 a.m. tomorrow." And he looked at me like he thought I was serious, and he went into a great tirade. He goes, "I'm gonna tell you something, Pat Ryan." He goes, we ain't leaving this town. I won't necessarily go through the whole verbiage word for word. He says, "We ain't leaving this town until this ball game is over." And I looked at the official, longtime official, Scotty Sullivan. I said, "I guess we're riding it out." And we did finish the game. And you know, we had a thing where we didn't want to kick it to his kid. We finally got up 2 touchdowns that night, and lo and behold, as high school football works out, sometime we kicked it right to his kid, and exactly what we didn't want to have happen, and he took her. But Danny and I have been friends, him and Lenny Onk, and those Chatham became that. They weren't quite Pontiac-ish as far as the outside the conference rival. But boy,
they were
they were right in that Geneseo, those teams
Yep.
that when you play them outside the league, it was almost like playing an arch rival,
Yep.
And those were just so fun.
The memory I have about Chatham Glenwood is we went down to Chatham to play, I believe, a quarterfinal game.
Yeah.
97.
97. Yeah, it was the day the governor was there.
Right, and they were up 28-26 at halftime. And with 3 minutes and 41 seconds to go in the third quarter, they were still up 28-26.
Mm-hmm.
And we beat them, I believe, 58-28.
Got it turned around. But boy, I'll tell you what, that was a great high school game. It was pretty tense at half, but defensively we kind of got things worked out, and then offensively we played a lot better. Yeah, they had a great receiver that ended up going to Illinois, the Boyle kid, and Boyd Griffin wanted him bad, and he didn't end up going there. He ended up staying in Chatham, and had a great career there, and went to Illinois. Yeah, he had a great game there, and they had a quarterback by the name of Juergens. And then that next year they went on and they won a state title. Yeah. We won another shot at him, but that didn't quite materialize. But yeah, I mean, that was a fantastic day. And on the way down, Tom Gunther said to the guy that was driving the charter, he says, "I wouldn't be surprised if the governor's not here today." And the guy driving the charter, he's going, "Yeah, okay, whatever. I don't know who." Yeah, and by golly, he stayed till the middle of the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
he had to go.
Yeah,
But
that was a fun game. I have a sister that doesn't say 2 words. Was at the game, and their chain gang was coming off the field, and they were not happy. But that's brethren to us, because I'm a chain gang guy.
Oh,
too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they were not happy. They were not happy at all, and they were yelling at the Metamora fans, and they walked right past my sister, and she told them in a very polite, low-key voice that they had scored the same amount of points as 11 dead guys.
Oh, gee.
And they looked at her, and they shook their heads, and they shut up, and they walked away.
Wow.
But she was right.
Yeah, she got fired up. Yeah. Going up to Riverside Brookfield that night, 96, Coach Grebner's senior year, and them, just not really, they really took us lightly, and that was the best night away from Malone Field, barring a state finals game, that as far as atmosphere for our kids. And those folks from Riverside could not believe the contingency that we had. I mean, we had the tailgate going on. It was absolutely fantastic, and it really meant a lot to our kids. I think that that was just such a memorable night. My whole family, mom and dad were there. Nancy's mom and dad were there. It was a great night. A lot of college friends of mine that lived in Chicago came and saw us play for the first time, and of course I can remember 2 of them saying, Pat, you don't throw it much, do you? I said, we threw it exactly 0 times that night.
Yes.
But it worked out okay.
Yeah, it worked out fine, and I think there's that game. Then there's 2 home games. One here against Geneseo in 2000, and then the '09 game against Rochester. I've never seen bleachers fill up that quick.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely, and you know, so many. But give it to the kids, you know, and I always wanted them to appreciate it. We always talked about this too, Scott. There's a lot of kids that love football and play and are good, great football players, but they never get the high school experience that our kids get. And you always want kids to understand that. You don't ever want them to take it for granted what a neat thing this is, you know. So I think they did, and I think particularly when they get away from it and they look back, like we mentioned, their teammates, just the experience here on a Friday night. Wow, you know, it's just, I'll use one of your famous wow, you know, it's awesome.
Well, Pat, again, thank you. We'll let you get going here, but thank you again for everything, for 30 years and all the things you've done for MTCO, and it's been a great run.
Well, the thank you's mine. You know, I don't know how many times Mark's gone out of his way to get us, listen to us talk, and I appreciate Mark a great deal, and I appreciate you and just the whole situation. You know, I know Jim Matson asked me one time, what would you like to, what do you want to say to people, you know, the community and the school, and really it just boils down to thank you. And it's been marvelous, and you know, it's just a wonderful, you know, there's a lot of people say it's hard to go back and coach in your hometown. It can be, but I just feel like we always got propped up by people when things were good, things were bad, and that's all you can ask for. And I wouldn't, if I had to do it all over again, I might maybe punt here or there when I went for it.
Don't tell Kurt.
Yeah, but right, but you know, I couldn't, me personally and for my family, and to raise all 4 of my kids going to school and being raised in this community, it's just been fantastic. So the thanks is all mine.
Well, Coach, that'll do it. Again, thank you very much.
You bet, you bet. And I also want to say that this program is going to continue to thrive and do well, and it is in fantastic hands, and I'm excited for the future of Metamora football.
That'll do it for the final Pat Ryan Show. We'll see you in the spring.
Hi, I'm Chuck Leonard, and for the last 57 years I have scouted for the Metamora varsity football team. Not by myself. Many have scouted with me, but I would just like to mention that my partner right now is Seth Brown, who does an outstanding job with the defense, helps me on offense. But we're here to talk about Pat Ryan. I first met Pat, he was a senior in my sociology class. How was he as a student? We'll move on. He went to college, came back to Metamora, scouted with me for a year, and I could tell then he had a good football mind. The Ryan years were great years to be connected with the Metamora football program. We rarely missed the playoffs. Almost every year we were in the playoffs. We won countless conference championships. We're state champion 2 years, narrowly missed 3 years in a row. And I really liked the idea during those years. We would go to scout somewhere at the enemy's place. You would walk into the stadium. You had your Metamora jacket, your Metamora hat. They knew who we were. You actually could feel the animosity of the crowd as we deliberately walked in front of them and then up to go where we would scout from, which always was as high as we could get, as close to the 50-yard line. And from there, we would carry out our duties. One experience I want to mention, Geneseo. What a great place. What a great atmosphere for a high school football game. But they let you know they didn't approve you. We usually left sometime in the fourth quarter. The game would be out of hand. We weren't going to learn anything new. And as you got up and were walking down the stands, walking out, they threw candy at you. So your last experience of Geneseo that day was Kit Kats, Mars bars, Almond Joy bouncing off you as you walked down the stairs. Despite all the winning, what really made me admire Pat was that kids had a good experience being a part of his program. He handled kids really well. He really believed that football, besides the winning, could be a good experience for kids and help them. And I don't think there's any doubt that that's true. The result is kids stayed in our program. You know, kids knew that if they stayed 4 years, that fourth year as a senior, regardless of their ability, on Friday night they would be on that field on some team. And that kept kids in the program, and it kept our numbers up. About 2 years ago, Chicago Tribune ran a story about participation in tackle football in the state of Illinois had dropped down 25% in the last 10 years. That's not true of us. Our numbers are still very high. And yet around us, it's happening. Last year, we scouted, and the team we were scouting was playing one of the premier programs in Central Illinois football. They had 21 kids on their freshman team. Last year, one of our own teams in our conference had 17 kids on their freshman team. Football can be a great bonding experience. You go through a lot of pain, whether it's preseason with the drills or during the season or during the game. It's a great bonding experience. You run into somebody 20 years after you've seen them, and you start talking. Remember that time we went over to Washington and beat them over there? Or remember when Dunlap came here undefeated and we beat them? A great bonding experience, and Pat helped make that a good situation with the way he handled kids. So enjoy your retirement, Pat. You earned it. And not just the winning. The winning was great. But I think kids had a great experience being a part of your program. 100%? No, but it's never 100%. We're people, there are problems, there's parents, it's never 100%. But I would say it's in the high 90s of kids that had a good experience with you. So on behalf of this old scout, who keeps getting older every year, the 30 years I was connected with you, whether it be scouting the game or going over it on Sunday with you and your staff, it was a very enjoyable experience. And on behalf of the community and the high school and the kids, thank you. And on behalf of myself, thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
I'm Jim Massman from 25 Sports, and I've been a sports director for a little over 30 years, which means I've covered every one of Pat Ryan's teams at Metamora. I was a little surprised to hear that Pat was retiring because I never really saw Pat Ryan getting old. Here's what I mean. Here's some video from last year of Metamora going through training camp. There's nobody more youthful, more energetic, more excited to be out in the practice field than Pat Ryan. That was Pat Ryan in year 29. That was Pat Ryan in year 1, year 5, year 10, you name it. Pat Ryan loved coaching football. He loved leading the young men of Metamora. So the youthful passion, the energy, the enthusiasm of Coach Ryan, that's probably what I'll remember most. Pat Ryan took me on some unbelievable trips down to the state finals. Now, the first 4 times I had to interview Pat after a state finals loss. But in my 30 years of doing sports, I think my most favorite piece of video ever was the 2007 state title game. Let's go back to that. Metamora taking on Morris. The game would come down to a final kick with the game tied. Freshman Brennan Van Meekum got a little pep talk from Pat Ryan. Boom, the ball right through the uprights, and look at Coach Ryan's reaction. A state champion indeed. I've said many times he did not need a state championship to validate his career, but no one deserved a state title more than Pat Ryan, bringing it back to his hometown of Metamora. My favorite piece of video, I think, ever in all my years covering sports on Channel 25. So tonight, I thank Pat Ryan for 30 years. You've been a great friend. You helped me when my child was diagnosed with diabetes. You've helped me make some career decisions. A great friend, a great coach. I hope you have a great retirement. You deserve it. The best to Coach Pat Ryan and Nancy. Thanks for all the great memories.
Hi Pat, just want to take the opportunity to congratulate you on such a great career. You've meant a lot to Metamora football and beyond. Central Illinois football, state of Illinois football. I think it's time for you to sit back, relax, and enjoy stress-free falls because you've earned it. Congratulations, enjoy your retirement.
Hello, I'm Ken Maurer. I had the honor of hiring Pat Ryan, and in his younger days he was pretty youthful at the time. He had a lot of experience, a lot of good experience, but a lot of folks thought he was just going to be way too young to take over a program, head coach at a program as what Metamora folks expected. But something was there in Pat Ryan that I was looking for. Anytime I look for people, I look for the 3 C's in hiring. And that's character, competence, and chemistry. Well, Pat had the character. You could just talk to him and you knew down deep what kind of a person he was. Competence, you know, his background expelled, he's had the competence, there's no doubt about that. And the chemistry, that's does he fit in with the teachers, the other coaching staff, the public, and the players themselves. He had the chemistry. Pat was really good at that. Now, when I look at leadership, I think there's 3 things, and Pat was very good at these things. One was establishing a vision and mission for the program, but he also did that for individual players. The second one is trying to make that a realization, and then the third is, are you striving to improve? Well, I want to give you an example of one of the students. Maybe shouldn't do this, but I'm going to anyway. Jacob Burke, and when Jacob Burke was about an 8th grader, he was kind of roly-poly, anything but an athlete. Nobody would have called him an athlete. And most coaches probably would have looked over him, but not Pat Ryan. Pat Ryan saw something in him, and Pat Ryan, no matter what kind of skill level this boy had, Pat was going to try to get him to see a vision of where he could be. And then not only set that vision with Jacob, but then show him a way to do it. And that's what really makes a good leader. You set the vision, mission, but you can't just have words on paper. Pat actually made the students, made the players realize how to accomplish that vision and mission. And he did that. Jacob Burke went on to not only be a starter by his senior year, but went on to play college football. Nobody would have ever expected that from Jacob. Then the third part of that is the striving to improve. This is for individuals. Pat had that. It didn't matter that he came in as a young coach who was going to be a good coach with the experience and background. He wanted to be a better coach. And even when he was a better coach, he didn't stop there. He strived. He wanted to be the best coach. And I think he reached that. He constantly tried to improve. He never quit trying to improve. Those are 3 things that all leaders ought to do if they're going to be successful. One more thing that I probably should say is that Pat, he's known for fiery pep talks and inspirational speeches and those kinds of things. I don't know how many of his players or folks around will remember, actually what Pat said. But what they will remember is how Pat made them feel. And he made them feel, every single player, like they were very important.
big congratulations, heartfelt thank you to Coach Pat Ryan, who made boys men, taught us everything that we need to know about football and about life. Thank you so much, Coach. Enjoy retirement. Hope to see you down here in Nashville, Tennessee real soon. Congrats to Coach Pat Ryan of Metamora, Illinois, the greatest high school football coach in Illinois history. That's a fact, the greatest motivator of young men. The man has touched so many young men's lives and made a difference. And Coach Ryan, we love you. You're the best. Cheers.
Hi, Pete. It's your old friend Tom Gunther here saying congratulations on your retirement. No. I thought it was Bachfischer. No. Oh, it's Ryan? Oh, okay. Congrats to the guy who brought the Belly series to Central Illinois. No. Oh, that's not Pat? No. Oh, yeah, that's Marty. Okay. Wow. All right, let me see if I can get one right. Okay, congrats to the coach who won the first state football championship for good old Metamora High. No. Not Pat either? Oh, Helmick. Okay. All right, congrats to the first Metamora football coach to win a 5A state championship. I know I got that one right. All kidding aside, your coaching career included a huge amount of wins, numerous conference championships, and many playoff victories. That doesn't compare to the most amazing accomplishment, being a head football coach for 30 years. Most people don't understand or appreciate the amount of time and effort and commitment that entails. I kind of do, and I know how hard it was. May your retirement bring you and Nancy much enjoyment. Whatever you decide to do, don't second guess any of your choices. That's for other people to debate. But always remember, Panthers taste like chicken. See ya, Pat.
Hey, Pat. Good to have you coach for all those years and all the kids that had so much good training. And it's just very thankful for what you've done, and hope you have a good retirement and enjoy some peaceful times. I've remember going to all the games that I could back in those years, and you just did some terrific things with the kids, and I know the kids enjoyed that too. So have a good one, and hope to see you soon.
Coach Ryan, I just want to thank you for so many years of guidance and leadership. I can't even explain how much my life is dependent on what you've done for me and my family, and guided us in the best way that you possibly could have. Congratulations and best of luck in the future.
Hi, Coach Ryan. Just wanted to take a few moments and say thanks for all that you've done, not only for myself, but for the other coaches, the students, the athletes, and the community over your 30-plus years. You've left a tremendous legacy, and don't be a stranger. Make sure you come back and say hi to all us guys. Thanks.
Hey Coach, just wanted to thank you for everything you did for me throughout the course of my life as a player, before I was a player, and just for the mentor that you were and have been. And I want to thank you for teaching me how to pursue a dream and how to work for that dream, because that's still a lot of fundamentals that I apply to my everyday life. And I want to thank you for that, and of course wish you the best with everything you got planned moving forward.
I want to thank Pat Ryan from the bottom of my heart for his decades of service to Metamora Township High School. Mr. Ryan was one of the first people I met when I moved into this community and began working at Metamora Township High School, and made me feel like I was part of the school, part of the community right away. And I'll never forget what a gracious, kind welcome he gave me into this community. Throughout my 13 plus years of working with Mr. Ryan, I have noticed his strong commitment in the classroom to be the best health teacher that he can be. And I take that very seriously as a former curriculum director and then principal and now superintendent, that Pat's dedication to the classroom was just as strong as his dedication to his coaching responsibilities. And while most people know him from his coaching responsibilities, that's because he is a local legend, and not just a local legend, but actually a state legend as well. His accomplishments on the field were absolutely amazing, and the wins and the losses are what they are, the state titles are what they are, but what I find the most important is the profound difference that he has made in the generations of student athletes that he coached and mentored during that period of time. My younger brother had the privilege of playing for him and often said that Mr. Ryan, Coach Pat, was a molder of men. Helped these young boys on the field learn life lessons, how to win, how to lose with grace and dignity, and how to push themselves in order to try to accomplish great things. And even in the middle of a global pandemic, Mr. Ryan continues to serve. He's actually substitute teaching in our building. We need substitute teachers desperately right now. And Coach Pat continues to serve this community, and I hope he will for years to come. He's got a special place in my heart, and I know he's got a special place in the hearts of countless students and athletes and community members of Metamora Township High School. I want to congratulate you on your retirement, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you've done for our school and our community. Thanks, Coach.
Well, Pat, 30 years, man. Been awesome. There's no way we could have done any of this without you. And the one thing I want to tell you is I really appreciate everything you did for us, me, JFL-wise. I was around a lot of the other coaches talking about the head coaches of their high schools, and there wasn't anything like our relationship, and that says a lot. Class act, man. And I really appreciate you allowing us, and once again me, to just infiltrate a little bit and learn as much as I did to be able to, you know, coach the kids that I coached. A lot of areas didn't allow that. And nothing but the best, man. Don't drive Nancy too nuts. We'll see you.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to cover Pat during his championship seasons with the Journal Star, 07 and 09. But I want to say that I had one conversation with him that really stands out. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 plus years, writing and reporting, and actually the conversation didn't happen during those championship seasons. It happened in the one between when they lost. In 2008, they lost the championship game, and in the press box in Champaign, and I asked Pat about something about regrets and things like that, and he sort of cut me off immediately, and I was surprised, and he's like, I don't have this. He goes, if I could be in the championship game every season, I take it, not because of the wins and the losses and all that stuff, but it's about, he goes, so I could be with this team and this staff as long as I could be with them. And that really stuck with me, something that, like, being more about the journey than being about wins and losses. And that's something I've taken in my life in the 10 plus years since. Pat was always that way. He has such great perspective on life, on football. I think his earnestness and his authenticity is something that not only do I strive to emulate, but also look for in others. So to not have him in this coaching in this community anymore is a huge loss. But look forward to seeing what he does next. And I thank you for his time and for his patience all those years, and look forward to what he does next.
Congratulations, Coach Ryan. And I refer to you as a skipper. You always said one thing that stuck in my mind forever, and that was we don't stay the same. We either get better or we get worse, and you've elected to get better every day. And I appreciate our friendship and appreciate your coaching ability, and Metamora was really, really lucky to have you.
Hi, Coach Ryan. Wanted to take time today to thank you on behalf of the Board of Education, the administration, our faculty, staff, and our community for your service to Metamora Township High School and the many, many things that you did both in the classroom and on the extracurricular side of things. So we say thank you to you. We appreciate the time and the effort and the sacrifices that not only you made, but your family as well. And we know that families do make sacrifices. Coaching often goes late, often goes on the weekends, often things come up and sacrifices are made. So we not only thank you, but your family for those things. And on a more personal level, I certainly appreciate the professional relationship we had, but I think also the friendship we had, where I got to see you pretty close up, and I don't think that you ever held anything back. I don't think you tried to hide anything. I think you were just the plain personal leader that you were, and I think that you brought that to your classroom. I think you brought that to your friendships. I think you brought that to your coaching relationships, and obviously I think you brought that to the football field. So we thank you for those things. We appreciate those things. I think that you brought a great balance to highly competitive, highly organized, highly intensity, but also bringing in a personal level to your coaches, to administrators, to team managers, to some people that maybe weren't as big in the spotlight. I think that you did a great job of making sure people felt valued and felt like they had a piece to the Metamora way, to the Metamora program. And I think that that's the thing I'll always remember, and I've always tried to emulate, that everybody's important, everybody needs some time, and I think you always balance that really well. So again, we wish you the best in retirement. We know that you'll be away for a little bit, but as time goes by, you're always welcome back. And once a Redbird, always a Redbird. Thank you so much, Pat.
Years of high school Metamora football, coaching with you, Patrick. Been one of the great privileges of my life. You're early in the 90s when you asked me, you got 3 years in you? You got 3 more years, and it was 3 more years, and ended up being 27 years. Coaching Metamora football and working side by side with you has been one of the most fun things I've ever got to do. All the kids, all the coaches, everything that you built Metamora football up to be. You know, for you going in 7 times in the state championship game, unheard of in the Peoria area, doing it with different players, different quarterbacks, different teams year after year. But you know, it was a great thing. All them great wins, you know, all them beating Washington, all them years, I believe 19 in a row. That's pretty nice. All the great playoff games, all the road trips. Everything that everybody ever did for Metamora football was always fun. All the team meals, everything the marshals used to do, everything everybody used to do, everything Mom used to do, all the people that just truly loved it, all the people that made all the signs, just everything about Metamora football was just an incredible experience for 27 years, something that you should be very proud of. 30 years, sorry. I coached for 27, you 30. But thanks for the opportunity to be a part of all that at Metamora High School and have fun in retirement.
Coach Ryan, thank you for all of your years of service to Metamora Township High School, not only in the classroom but on the football field as well. You've done a wonderful job for players, other coaches, the community as a whole, and we couldn't ask for anything more. You've been a great mentor to all of us coaches. You've been a great coach to all of us as players. You've been a great teacher, and you've been a great friend, and we sure are going to miss you. You know, one of your favorite sayings is always on Wednesdays, hey, the hay's in the barn. Not much more we can do from here. And for your career, you know, the hay's in the barn. Enjoy it, spend some time with your family, and good luck the rest of the way.
Hi, Pat. Hey, I just wanted to congratulate you on your retirement. We've known each other for a long, long time. We've been doing Redbird Replay for, I think, about 17 years now. We did the Pat Ryan show together, I think 14 years. And it's been a blast. It's going to seem odd to do football games and not have you after the game. I appreciate all the times. You know, it was always easy to get you up to the press box after a big win. But you always, pretty much for the most part, always made it up even after some tough losses. And that's when I really appreciated everything you did and everything you'd say. And, you know, at a town like Metamora, it's pretty tough at times to be a head football coach in a town that's as crazy about football. And, you know, the only thing the people in Metamora ever really ask of you is just to win once a week. And, you know, when you look at your record, you're 268 wins, and in 30 years you were 2 wins shy from winning 9 games a season. You know, just 2 wins shy of being exactly 9 wins a season, and that's saying a lot. There's a lot of high schools in the state of Illinois that have never been able to do anything close to that. There's only a precious few, and you're one of those guys that got Metamora into that kind of elite group of high schools that have been able to sustain winning for a number of years. Some people can put together 3 or 4 years, but you put together 30 years. And congratulations, and I hope you have a great retirement.
Hello to Pat Ryan. It's Pat Hughes, radio announcer for the Chicago Cubs. Pat, I was contacted by the Metamora Redbird football fans, and they told me about your amazing career. Here's what it says. Pat Ryan has retired as head football coach of Metamora High School after 30 years. What a great legacy, though. Your record is incredible, Pat. 30 years, 268 wins, and 72 losses. If my arithmetic is correct, 196 games, over 500. Absolutely amazing. You had 2 state championships along the way. Those never go out of style. And 5 runner-ups. What a legacy you're leaving behind. It says you're a big Cubs fan and have been your entire life. I know you're probably going to miss coaching for a while, but this fall, the Cubs could make it special. They're off to an amazing start right now, 13-3, getting phenomenal pitching, and the hitting hasn't even come around, but it will. And I think David Ross, speaking of coaches, he's going to be a dynamite skipper. He's got all the ingredients, and you probably, as a former coach, can see some of those things. Very smart, good people skills, very organized, knows how to deploy the personnel. He's checking all the boxes as far as I'm concerned. And we have the nucleus intact regarding players from the World Series of 4 years ago. Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, Contreras, Schwarber, Hendricks, Lester, among others. Guys who really know how to play and, more importantly, know how to win. And they might just give me another chance to say, the Chicago Cubs win the World Series. It gave me enormous pleasure to say that. You can relate to championships, Pat. Nothing quite like it. And I say, let's go back and do that again. Again, Pat, I tip my cap to you. I admire you. What a great career you had as the head coach at Metamora High. And final thoughts. Enjoy your retirement. Go Cubs. Stay safe. And thank you for listening to Cubs Radio. Bye-bye.
Congratulations, Pat Ryan, but I'm not quite sure how long it will take you to really understand retirement. No more scouting reports, no more equipment orders, eligibility checks, figuring out what time the bus needs to leave for you to get to the game on time. None of it. It's been a part of your life for as long as you can remember. You excelled at it, and you were pretty good at that winning football game thing too. But I know you are most proud of the relationships you built with your players, the parents, your coaching staff, the support staff, cheerleaders, everybody. Metamora High School football will not be the same without you, Pat Ryan. That I know. I also know I'll miss our chats before and after games, the small talk before and after interviews, everything. You made covering your teams so much fun, and for that, I thank you. It's been a pleasure being around you in the coach-reporter relationship, but I thank you that our relationship went beyond that definition. So, congratulations on all of your success. Your name is synonymous with Metamora football, and now it should be synonymous with a happy retirement.
Hey Dad, I just wanted to let you know how proud we are of you for all your accomplishments throughout the years at Metamora, but more importantly, I just want to tell you how proud I am to be your son and to have been able to play ball underneath you and watch you coach and enjoy the sport you absolutely loved, and not only get to play it, but also get to be a part of the whole thing with you. I'm so unbelievably proud of you, and I love you a great deal. Bye-bye.
Wow, 30 years of coaching, 30 plus years I should say. What to say about Pat Ryan? Well, if you can imagine, I grew up in a pretty much what you would call a football family. I didn't really know what that meant until I was old enough to understand kind of what my dad did and the lives that he impacted. Watching him coach years after years, growing up from grade school, progressing to high school, I started to understand what it was that he stood for, the passion that he had for the sport in general was beyond anything I'd ever seen. Both of my parents are very passionate about their careers, and that was given to me. He always instilled to me, do what you love. Don't do it for the money. Do what you love. And seeing people go through the program and knowing that he believed in each and every one of them. It didn't matter if you were first string, second string, third string, never played football before. He always had this way of making people feel welcome, making them feel part of a team, and helping them progress, helping them learn the game. And it was never about winning to my dad. Winning was a plus, but it was about how can I help these players learn something, get better at the sport, progress. And I will always remember that about Metamora football. There was something really special about Metamora football on Friday nights. It kind of gives you butterflies, walking up there, hearing the music, and knowing that your dad, your hero, was behind it all. But he didn't want the recognition. It was never about any of that. It was about helping kids grow because he loved the game. And I love him for that. He's my hero. We love you, Dad, and here's to doing what you love. Enjoy retirement.
Hey Dad, I just wanted to say congratulations on the retirement, 30 years, that's amazing. I'm a pretty proud daughter, walking the halls at Metamora, knowing your dad's the head coach, that was such a great feeling, It's such a powerhouse, Metamora football was, and, driving up and going to the gate, and parking the car on the hill and watching it and knowing that you were down there. And, you know, from the very beginning, you had me and Aaron, you know, Aaron in the front, me in the back, you know, strapped to you while you were coaching. That was a pretty great memory. Also, you know, when you would look over at me after when I was a fat girl and you'd kind of smile, you know, I said that in the post. One of my also favorite memories was the video that David Zimmerman made on YouTube of the 2007 state team and watching you run the field with the guys and carrying the ball and when they lifted you up, that was really, really awesome. So just being a part of this whole thing as being your daughter, it's been a privilege. It's been a privilege, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't gonna miss it, because I am. But you got great things in store for you, and you get to do anything you want. So yeah, I just want to congratulate you. I'm very, very proud of you, and I love you so much. So thanks, Dad. Proud of you, man.
So I guess, first of all, congratulations is in order on an incredible career, Dad. You know, what an exciting run that we had. You know, I say we because this was a family affair. This is what I grew up with. This is all I've known for 28 years of my life, is my dad coaching football on the sidelines for the Metamora Redbirds. And I am so incredibly proud to be Pat Ryan's daughter. I know growing up, when people used to ask me, "Oh, you're Ryan, you're PR's kid, or you're Pat Ryan's daughter," and I just had the biggest smile on my face and said, "Yes, I'm Pat Ryan's daughter." And there's a huge sense of pride in that, Dad, and the impact that you've had on this community is just, it's second to none. I mean, I can only hope that someday I have the impact on a community the way that you have, and it's going to be weird. I really haven't come to full terms with the fact that you're not going to be coaching football anymore, because I know it's who you are, it's in your blood. But what an exciting time for you and Mom to take that next step, to take that next adventure in your life, and just enjoy it and enjoy that time to be, you know, with us. I mean, this is such an exciting time for our family too, that we get to spend together. So it's much well deserved. And I am so proud of you, and I'm so proud to be your daughter. And I will leave you with one story though. So I do remember there was a time during LB and I's junior year, I believe it was junior year, when you locked yourself in your own office. You, Pat Ryan, locked yourself in your own office, and to this day is one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen in my entire life. So throughout the entire coaching career, the wins, the losses, the victories, all that fun stuff, you still locked yourself in your office one time when we were going to an away game, and the door had to be chopped down to get you out of that. And I will forever hold on to that memory, because I don't think a lot of people know that. And I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty hilarious that me and LB can look back on that. And, you know, again, just thank you for letting me be a part of it. I know I didn't play football, but you helped me so much, and you were a coach to me too. You know, all those days we'd spend out on the track, you know, I remember that one time we were out on the track, and I was really trying to break 16, and we worked and we worked and we worked. And so I took one last run through 10 hurdles, and you just set the stopwatch down on the ground and you walked away, and I went and picked it up, and I had finally broken 16 with you there to witness it. And those are memories that I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life. And it's really cool to look back on. Not only were you my dad, and I'm so proud of it, but you were my coach too for a really long time. And you continue to remain my coach in various ways, in various aspects, the way you build me up and the way that you encourage me. Those are things that I'm going to take with me for the rest of my life. So thank you for that. I love you so much, and I'm so, so proud of you. Congratulations, Dad.
Hi, Patrick. First of all, I just want to say congratulations on your retirement. And I'm so very proud of you and what you've accomplished in your life. And I think back to a article, I think that was in the Journal Star, where it said, I love this job. And I know that you are one of very few people that have truly, truly loved what they've done their whole life. And I'm just so proud of you for what you've done for our family and for the community, and for the young men, the lives that you've shaped. I just want to tell you how much I love you and how proud I am of you, and I am so looking forward to the next chapter in our lives. I know we're just going to have a ton of fun together, and Lord willing, we'll be together for many, many more years, and just looking forward to spending more time with you. I love you, and I'm so proud of you. Mwah.
Patrick, I really enjoyed all the years of your coaching. Every game was just great, and the players played so hard for you, and I'm so was so fortunate to be able to come to the games and watch the games all the years, and with those wonderful coaches that helped you, and all the parents were great, and I got to work in the concession stands with them, and they were wonderful. And so many, many years at MTHS, I enjoyed the football.